And among his last advice he had for me and for all of you was to never ask what he would do. Just do what's right, he said. He said he saw Disney paralyzed after Walt Disney's passing, as everyone spent all of their time thinking and talking about what Walt would want. And he did not want this to occur at Apple.
When you got there and you're working for Steve, was it better than you thought, worse than you thought, more challenging than you thought?
I found it to be liberating, is the way I would describe it, because it's you could kind of talk to Steve about something very big, and if it resonated with him, he would just say, "Okay, you could do it." And so it was like a total revelation for me that a company could run like this, because I was used to these layers and bureaucracy and studies and, studying things, sort of the paralysis that companies can get into. And Apple was totally different than that.
You get a call from Steve Jobs or somebody working for him saying, "Can you come and join Apple?" Why did you take the interview, and why did you join Apple?
But I thought, this is an opportunity to talk to the guy that started the whole industry. And Steve met me on Saturday. And it was like just minutes into talking with him, I want to do it, which I was shocked myself. He was sort of turning left when everyone else was turning right. It was almost on everything that he talked about, he was doing something extraordinarily different than conventional wisdom.
When Steve Jobs recruited you to join Apple, you said you trusted your gut. How did you know you made the right decision?
There was a feeling that I had in talking to Steve that he was a very different kind of CEO. He was focused on products, and had a belief that small teams could do amazing work. I loved that vision. And I also loved that in an environment where everyone was going to an enterprise kind of company, he wanted to refocus Apple on consumers. And it was brilliant because at the time, nobody was doing that. Everybody thought you could not make any money selling to consumers. And, I've never thought it was a good idea to follow the herd. I thought I had a chance of a lifetime to work with the creative genius that started the entire industry. And I didn't want to pass that up.
What lessons about management from Steve did you learn?
He taught me the value of innovation, the fact that small teams could do amazing things. I look at the size of the iPod team initially. I look at the size of the iPhone team. These were very small teams in the scheme of things. Hiring the best people to surround you, that challenge you, that have skills that you don't, and being confident with that. And also not to be married to my past views. Not to be so proud you can't change your mind when you're presented with new evidence and things. He could change like this. I initially was sort of taken aback by that, and then I became so enamored with it. Very few people have that skill because they get married to their past views, and I thought it was a brilliant skill. Throughout his life, he said truly profound things that have provided me and so many others a guiding light. He said, "Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean to make it simple. But it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains." He said, "Technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields us the result that makes our hearts sing." He said, "If you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should just do something else wonderful, not dwell on it for too long. Just figure out what's next. And finally, he said, my model for business is the Beatles. They were four guys who kept each other's kind of negative tendencies in check. They balanced each other, and the total was greater than the sum of the parts. That's how I see business. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people. Steve never followed the herd. He thought deeply about almost everything and was the most unconventional thinker I have ever known. He always did what he thought was right, not what was easy. He never accepted the merely good. He would only accept great, insanely great. He valued beauty in everything and insisted that everything that Apple do be beautiful. He believed the future does not belong to those who are content with today, and pushed himself incredibly hard and those around him to achieve more. This is the way he lived. And these are the things he leaves us: what he did, what he said, and what he stood for. But there is one more thing he leaves us. He leaves us with each other, because without him, Apple would have died in the late 90s, and the vast majority of us would have never met. Other than his family, Apple would be his finest creation. He thought about Apple until his last day. And among his last advice he had for me and for all of you was to never ask what he would do. Just do what's right, he said. He said he saw Disney paralyzed after Walt Disney's passing, as everyone spent all of their time thinking and talking about what Walt would want. And he did not want this to occur at Apple. He did some amazing things, and he himself once said, to get to work on one revolutionary product in a career is extraordinary. In 1984, revolutionized personal computing and desktop publishing. With iPod and iTunes, Steve reminded all of us of our love for music. The iPhone revolutionized the mobile phone industry. And just last year, with the introduction of the iPad, Apple jump-started an entirely new product category that no one thought they needed, and now no one can live without.